Namaskar. Today we are going to discuss a novel with very unique characteristics. This tiny novel of mere 117 pages, however, encompasses a vast picture of life and possesses a deep meaning. This novel is Savitri, written by Purushottam Shivaram Rege or P S Rege. A warm welcome to the 52nd episode of Granthyatra. P S Rege was born in the Mitbab village of Ratnagiri district in the year 1910. After obtaining his degrees in economics from Mumbai and London, he taught in several colleges of Maharashtra and Goa. Later, he became the principal of the Elphinstone College in Mumbai, from where he retired in 1970. In the field of literature, P S Rege is well known both as a writer and as a poet. Spray of Flowers, Swing, Gandharekha, Her Abundance, The Other Bird, Priya are some of his collections of poetry. He wrote highly acclaimed and meaningful novels such as Avalokita, Renu and Matruka. His collection of critical essays was published as Chandasi. The novel Savitri was published in 1962. The time period of its narrative is from 1939 to 1947. When we think of a novel, we imagine a backdrop, characterization of various personalities, and a sequence of events. But this novel is unique because it is an epistolary novel written as a series of letters. As a result, its backdrop is that which is revealed through these letters, and its characters are those that are mentioned in them. Another interesting fact is that all these letters have been written by one person, that these letters are answered and the response they get becomes known to the readers only through these letters. The writer of these letters is Savitri or Saau, a well-educated, independent and extremely friendly young woman. In the very first letter, she introduces herself. Although we were never introduced, I wrote to you and you replied with same eagerness. How do I introduce myself? I don't know how I grew up. Without a mother and in the company of my father Appa, who was always engrossed in work. The first thing I learnt in life was to forget myself. My name you already know. Some call me Saau. But Appa once said, "Child, you are truly Ananda Bhavini, a blissful person." He could easily think up such words. Since then, I have been like this, just as what you first imagined me to be, Ananda Bhavini, blissful. You wrote, friendly. The person that Savitri's letters are addressed to gradually emerges from her own letters. She perhaps met him during a journey, and their two perceptive, intelligent minds that share an appreciation for art develop a friendship. The good-natured, happy Savitri, who has never been touched by vice, takes the initiative to write to him, and he replies to these letters with equal warmth. The intellectual wavelength of these two pen friends is quite high. In her letters, Saau discusses the joy derived from art, her father's hypothesis on this, the views of a guest at their home, and her own viewpoint. She is aware that her friend too has written an award-winning essay on this topic. In her next letter, she writes about a legend of some nearby hills. They are called Home of Seven Virgins. These young girls were unable to find suitable grooms and as a result faced hostility at their homes. So they decided to go and live outside the village where they built their respective homes in the wilderness. Slowly, the forest grew around them and the homes disappeared, giving rise to 7 hills in their place. The legends, stories and plays that are referenced throughout this short novel are quite symbolic. They mirror the personality and emotions of the protagonist and in turn enrich her character. One such story is about Lachi's peacock. Saau has heard it from Rajamma in her childhood. The peacock in the story sets a condition that little Lachi should dance with him whenever he would visit her home. Lachi agrees happily. But to be able to dance on call, her mind needs to be happy all the time. So Lachi now remained happy at all times. Saau goes even further and says, if you want a peacock, you can yourself turn into one. Whatever one needs, one should turn oneself into that object. The relationship between Saau and her friend is not limited to highbrow discussions. A young Saau is also attracted towards him. She eagerly invites him to visit her home in Coorg and plans a full week-long program for him. But despite initially accepting her invitation, he doesn't come. The reason he gives is not satisfactory either. Perhaps he is not yet ready to commit to an increasingly deep friendship with Saau. Saau is extremely disappointed by this. But she does not get carried away by emotions, nor does she shed tears. One should never plan too far ahead, nor should one reminisce in the past. That's the lesson she teaches herself from this experience. She makes her mind stable enough to understand that whatever happened should be put aside. After this incident, she writes more about the people around her than about herself in her letters. She writes about her father's British friend, Mr. Edgeworth, and Professor Joshi. She also hints how she feels sad because Mr. Edgeworth had to remain unmarried until his old age. She inquires after Professor Gurupad Swami at their college. In answer to this letter, her friend asks why she has not written much about herself. Soon after, he visits Saau and spends 5 days at her home. Even after his departure, Saau remains immersed in the memory of those days. And yet, she writes, sometimes I think I haven't understood your mind at all. I read your letters again and again, and every time I find a new meaning in your words. The readers too are not able to understand Sau's friend clearly. When Saau graduates with good grades, he sends a cable informing her of the result. But contrary to her expectations, he does not write any congratulatory letter. Saau is hurt by this unexpected distance in their relationship. She does mention it in her letter, but with great restraint. At the end of this letter, she writes, Appa has named his book Experience and Growth. Sau's personality too grows and matures with every experience in life. Just as Saau is exploring the relationship with her friend, she is also on a path of self-discovery. She tries to understand the meaning of her own feelings by stepping out of the socially accepted boxes. What is obvious in the letters that follow is the unsurmountable distance between the two friends. It appears that both wish to say a great deal. They wish to ask several questions, but that does not come out in their writings. Saau asks if it is necessary for him to go to England so much in advance of the beginning of his term. The reader doesn't get to know if she receives a satisfactory answer to this question, but she too hesitates to answer the many questions that he has posed to her. Several major events occur in the narrative after this. Sau's friend of course departs for England, whereas Saau and her father go to Japan, where Appa has been invited by an organization called Anand Mission to deliver a series of lectures and stay for a year. Saau has not forgotten the questions asked by her friend, but she wants him to discover their answers on his own. Finally, she writes a poetic letter in answer to those questions. Saau gradually settles down in her new life in Japan. She makes new friends. Europe begins to feel the heat of the approaching war. Yet, Sau's friend decides to continue his stay in England. His letters too grow short. Later, Saau develops a friendship with a sweet girl, Leore. She spontaneously writes about her new friend in her letters. She sends him a photograph of herself with Leore. The reader is left wondering whether the exchange of clothes by Saau and Leore is symbolic of the exchange of their roles in life. Leore plans to meet Sau's friend in England on her way back to Sweden. Saau also wonders if she has been writing independently to her friend in England. In the next few letters, Saau writes about Leore, Edgeworth, and Professor Joshi, and she always writes good things about them. In response, He asks if Saau always meets good people in life, if she has never come across evil people. On this, Saau confesses, I never reject anything, and what I accept, in the end, I identify with it. We ourselves are the good and the bad people after all. Slowly, the circumstances in the novel change further. His letters become even more sparse. Leore leaves for Europe via America. Appa's health deteriorates. Some letters written by Saau and her friend get lost. The next letter is written after 4 years. In the meanwhile, Appa has passed away while still in Japan. During the war, Saau works as a nurse in a military hospital in Japan. There, she meets an Indian doctor and his Japanese wife. Following sudden death of this couple, Saau adopts their infant daughter and returns to India. She resumes her communication with her friend and suggests that he too return to India. However, he has perhaps still not understood her mind. What is it that you really want? He asks, and Saau tells him frankly that over the last 6 years she has given him nothing but love. She also tells him that she never received the expected response from him, and so she chose her own separate path while still nurturing in her heart her love for him. It is important to note that Saau remains happy even on this separate path. She does not get exasperated, nor does she despair because her love was not reciprocated. At the end of the novel, Saau receives the desired response from her friend, and he decides to abruptly return to India. But now, Saau is not so impatient. Now that she is sure to get what she has always wanted, she wants it to happen at the right time. She is now busy with her new playhouse for children. Leore, who is visiting her in India, begins to construct a house for Sau's friend nearby. His date for return is fixed for July, and Saau has reserved the role of the peacock in her ballet for him. All through the novel, what is evident is Rege's skill of delicately capturing the emotional upheavals in Sau's mind. He never clearly describes these emotions in words, but they are expressed through her writings, her commentary on the circumstances around her, and through her philosophical discussions. The reader is able to absorb much more than what is specifically stated in words. This is a major success of the novel. The novel also explores several layers of the man-woman relationship. This bond is not typical in the novel. It depicts how two minds are unable to arrive at a decision even in the absence of a villain or unfavorable circumstances. It reveals a wide spectrum of the emotion of love. Let us hear more about the characteristics of this novel from Professor Manisha Nagpure.
नमस्कार. सावित्री ही पु शी रेगे यांची पहिली कादंबरी 1962 म्हणजेच त्यांच्या वयाच्या अवघ्या 52व्या वर्षी ती प्रकाशित झाली. पु शी रेगे यांनी सावित्री या कादंबरीचे जेव्हा लेखन केले तो मराठी कादंबरी निर्मितीचा अत्यंत लक्षणीय असा कालखंड होता. रचनातंत्र आणि भाषाशैलीच्या दृष्टीने नवनवीन प्रयोग या कालखंडामध्ये झालेले आपल्याला दिसतात. पु शी रेगे हे त्यांच्या कालखंडातील अत्यंत पृथगात्मक असं व्यक्तिमत्व होते. सावित्री ही रेगे यांची नायिकाप्रधान पत्रात्मक कादंबरी. अन्य पत्ररूप कादंबऱ्यातही तिचे वैशिष्ट्यपूर्ण असे स्थान आपल्याला दिसते. सावित्री या कादंबरीबद्दल पु शी रेगे म्हणतात, सावित्री म्हणजे मीच आहे. आठवणीच्या कालावधीत सावित्रीने लिहिलेली एकूण 39 पत्रे म्हणजे ही कादंबरी. सावित्री ही या कादंबरीतील मुख्य पात्र. तीव्र बुद्धिमत्तेचा वारसा आपल्या वडिलांकडून लाभलेली सावित्री स्वभावाने समंजस आहे. लहानपणापासून आईविना वाढलेली सावित्री दुसऱ्याला समजून घेण्याची कला तिला अवगत आहे. म्हणूनच मोर हवा तर आपणच मोर व्हायचं, म्हणजे स्वतःला विसरून जे हवे आहे त्या रूपात प्रवेश करून ते अनुभवणे, यातून ती स्वतःला विसरायला शिकते. गाडीत प्रवास करताना भेटलेल्या तरुणाला ती प्रियकर म्हणून निवडते. दोघांचा पत्रव्यवहार सुरू होतो. दोघांचे भावबंध दृढ होत जातात. भावनेला सतत विचारांची जोड असल्यामुळे या कादंबरीतील भावनाकुल्लोळ विचारांनी पेलून धरलेला आपल्याला आढळतो. सावित्रीमधील विचारनाट्य अनुभवताना सावित्री म्हणते, प्रेम, प्रीती, अनुराग यासारख्या शब्दांची मला अपूर्वाई वाटत नाही. मला वाटतं की स्वतःला कुठेतरी स्थिर करण्यासाठी आपण ही केवळ निशाण म्हणून वापरतो. त्याचा रंग केव्हाच विटला असतो. तुमच्याबद्दल मला एक आकर्षण वाटतं, पण म्हणजे नेमके काय याचा मी एवढाच अर्थ करते की तुम्हाला मी आपलंसं करून घेतलं आहे, मला तुमचंसं करून घेतलं आहे. याच्या पलीकडे काही असतं का? या देवघेवीनं आपण अधिक व्हायचं की पुन्हा सभोवार नवे बांध घालून घ्यायचे? अशारीर प्रेम आणि वैचारिक देवघेवीतून सभोवार बांध घालून घेण्यापेक्षा अधिक होण्याचा ध्यास या कादंबरीमध्ये सावित्रीला आपल्याला दिसतो. प्रियकराचा प्रत्यक्ष सहवास तिच्यासाठी उमराचे फूल ठरले असले तरी प्रेमाच्या उत्कट प्रचितीची अनुभूती तिला आलेली असते. त्यामुळे दोघांच्या संबंधात निर्हेतुक आपलेपणा येतो. सावित्रीमध्ये पत्ररूप लेखनाचा प्रयोग करून रेगेंनी आपला विचारव्यूह अतिशय सुंदर रीतीने मांडला आहे. पत्र या वाङ्मय प्रकारात जे आत्मनिष्ठतेचे एक बळ असते त्याचा अतिशय समर्पक उपयोग रेगे यांनी या कादंबरीत केला आहे. स्त्री पुरुष नात्याचे अनेक स्तर ही कादंबरी उलगडून दाखवते. स्त्री पुरुषामधील कामभावनेवर आणि प्रेमभावावर ती आधारलेली आहे. तो त्यांच्या लेखनाचा स्थायी भाव आहे असे म्हटल्यास हरकत होणार नाही. सावित्री या कादंबरीतील गूढतत्वपर्शी भाव रेगे यांच्या कवितेत सुद्धा आढळत नाही. इतकी त्यांची शैली या कादंबरीत गूढ आहे. त्यामध्ये संदिग्धताही जाणवते. त्यामुळे रेगे यांची सावित्री ही इतर कादंबरी लेखनापेक्षा नेमकी वेगळी ठरते. सावित्रीमध्ये त्यांनी केलेला सूचकतेचा आणि व्यंजनेचा वापर कादंबरीतील अनुभवविश्व अधिक उत्कट आणि गडद करून टाकते. सावित्री हा रेगे यांच्या सूचकतेचा जणू काही शिखर प्रत्ययच होता. आकारदृष्ट्याही तो मिताक्षरी प्रत्यय आहे. सावित्रीच्या रूपाने विकासाचा एक नवा आलेखच पु शी रेगे यांनी चितारला आहे. खरा अनुभव जाणीवेचा विकास घडवून आणत असतो हेच रेगे यांनी या कादंबरीतून दाखवण्याचा प्रयत्न केला आहे. सावित्री दुःखापासून विरागीपणापर्यंत पोचते. स्वतःच्या पूर्णत्वाचे स्वप्न पाहत येणारे अनुभव स्वीकारित वाटचाल करीत राहते. प्रियकरावर प्रेम करतानाच ती स्वतःचे वाहनने अनुभवते आणि नंतर आई वेगळ्या बिनाचे मातृत्व मनाने पत्करून ती अधिक पूर्णतेकडे वाटचाल करते. सावित्रीने भारतीय तत्वज्ञानातील आत्मविसर्जन खऱ्या अर्थाने जाणले, म्हणूनच आत्मविसर्जनातील तृप्तीही तिला कळली. एक नवीन प्रयोग म्हणून या कादंबरीला नरहर कुरुंदकर अपूर्व प्रयोग म्हणतात, ते याच अर्थाने. धन्यवाद.
Do read this novel, which depicts the journey of an engaged relationship in a world where letters were the only means of communicating with people living at a distance, a world that existed before the globe was connected through instant messaging. The novel has been translated into English and other languages. We shall meet again in the next episode to peruse the poetry of a modern poet. Until then, keep reading.